10 Tons are a publisher and developer I'm always interested in. They brought out a good few games and not many I haven't liked, so when I heard Undead Horde 2 was coming to early access, I was very interested to see what they were going to do with it. The original was good, but needed some improvements here and there, so were their improvements going to tally with mine? Of course, everything that follows has to be taken with a grain of salt, if not an entire bag, as this is currently in early access and has only been there for about a month. So if you're watching this from the future, this might all be different now. By the way, my original unreleased review for Undead Horde is going to be tacked on at the end of this, so stick around to find out how bad my delivery used to be and what my take was on the original's flaws. In short, the original Undead Horde was good, but not great. It was an action RTS RPG hybrid, reminiscent in some ways of Overlord, Diablo, and Cannon Fodder. It was a concept that had some pretty strong potential, but needed some improvement in the execution. Enter Undead Horde 2, Necropolis. The mechanics are primarily the same, with a couple of large differences. In the original Undead Horde, you could only raise the creatures that had died in front of you. In the sequel, the bones of the dead are used as a resource to bring the creatures of your choice to life. Also, you have to choose which effigies you can use. In other words, which creatures you can actually bring back. This really improves the tactics of the game and addresses one of my concerns about the original, where you could only choose your creatures back at base, and when you were out in the world you just had to make do with whatever died near you. This meant you couldn't tactically choose your minions, and the game had to balance accordingly, so you won basically by sheer numbers. In this you have units that bolster other units and different types of attacks, and it really helps with the strategy and tactics side of the game, a definite improvement. Another nice touch is the need to assign commoners to jobs to get bonuses. In the original you just unlocked stuff, but now, in order for the bonus to actually apply, you have to have someone doing that job. And the way you rescue commoners is by eliminating every living thing in an area. It's a really nice touch that, again, just stops you just being able to win TF out of everything super easily. There's a fair amount of asset reuse between the two games, including graphics and music, but there was asset reuse between the original and Skeletal Warrior, so no big deal as far as I'm concerned. I'd much rather have a developer work on the game being good and making improvements to the core loop and story, and it seems pretty evident to me that's what's been done here. Along with the mechanic changes, it could just be my imagination, but it just feels better to play. Gear plays a similar role in the sequel, not much has changed there, although there does appear to be more of it, which I am not going to complain about. There are a bunch of little secrets and puzzles, and areas sometimes have new mechanics and monsters such as poison or cold eat at your health. Now, if you can only play in short sessions, it has the same issues as the original. If you quit out, you go back to the Necropolis, which means the enemies in the level you were in respawn, with the exception of any boss or special enemies and the buildings. But that does mean, if you can only play in really short bursts, killing everyone in a level might be hard to do. Hopefully they'll improve this and allow you to reload back where you were exactly. That will be a really nice touch for people who have to quit out at short notice. It's really heartening to see that 10 Tons have realised what the issues were with the original and have made strides to fix them in the sequel. This shows a lot of potential, and I look forward to picking it back up when it's fully released. Okay, so that's the end of the review of Undead Horde 2. Now follows my original, unreleased review for Undead Horde. Hopefully you'll be able to see my presentation skills have improved somewhat since I made this. Here we go then. This week, I'm looking at Undead Horde by 10 Tons, and in the interest of brevity, is it good? Yeah, it's not bad. Is it good for the short-time gamer? Yeah, kind of. So, like and subscribe, and now for the longer version. Undead Horde uses the same assets as Skeletal Avenger, but this is something 10 Tons do quite a bit. They'll make a game and a ton of assets in one style, then make another game with the same assets in a completely different style. In this case, Undead Horde is a cross between hack and slash and an RTS. It, in a lot of ways, shares DNA with the old Overlord games, if you remember those. You are a necromancer, you can hit people with your sword, you can hit people with the weapons you get because there's gear in this. Or you can raise bodies of the dead and have them fight against everyone. This is a really good mechanic, making sure that you're out of the way of the fight, but in range of some of the corpses to try and bring them up and get them ready. The enemies do vary. However, they don't vary in how you beat them. It is all about the power and the numbers. So you will get to certain points in the game where you'll find that you're hitting a wall and you just basically have to grind it out until you can unlock them and unlock a higher cap for the amount of soldiers you can have raised, and then you'll beat it. So there's not a lot of strategy involved here in a way. It's all about overwhelming. That's not to say it isn't fun. It is fun. It just gets a little bit repetitive after a while. There is a good variation in the kind of corpses you can raise up, including hero corpses that actually cost money. You have lots of gear. The gear will do all sorts of different things to your stats. But at the end of the day, it's still all about just overwhelming the enemy. Now, is it good if you don't have a lot of time? There are some problems. In order to completely take over an area, you have to kill every living thing in it. And the problem with having to do that is if you leave the area, they will all respawn. And if you exit that level, you will go back to your necromancer's lair. So in other words, if you don't have the time to completely clear a level, you're not going to have the time to play this game. It can take quite a while to clear a level out. Not huge amounts of time, but can take about 10-15 minutes. So if your objective is going to be clearing that level out, you're going to need that amount of time spare, uninterrupted. Also, when you quit or die, you will lose all your units, apart from the ones you paid money for. They will come back with you. In short, is Undead Horde worth buying? It's got about 9 hours worth of gameplay in it, but they are quite fun hours. And if you can definitely spare yourself sessions that are 20 minutes at least, then you'll probably come away having a fun time. There's not many 10-ton games out there that aren't good, at least. This is probably down the bottom end, but it's still a good game. Not as good as Skeletal Avenger though. So until next time, goodbye.